I'm Byron Hynes. In this video presentation, we're going to take a look at three types of cloud offerings. That is, the types of clouds that you can build using something perhaps like OpenStack or perhaps purchasing them from a provider. We're going to talk about private clouds, public clouds, and hybrid clouds. So a private cloud is centered around your business, your applications, and your data. So in many ways, this is very similar to a remote data center. You get some cloud-based functionality in the sense that you can perhaps have a varying level of resource. You may have a web-based self-provisioning. You may have empowered users to be able to spin up instances or spin down instances. So you have that kind of flexibility that comes from a cloud, but it's all about your business and your applications and your data. So private clouds are often used in cases where you have to conform to strict rules around data location, control, or privacy. Perhaps you work in a highly confidential or highly secure environment, and you just can't have your data out there in the public cloud. Now, in my case, the jurisdiction in which I live has certain legal requirements. Some government information must be kept in the same country that it's been created in. So that limits the cloud providers and the type of clouds that various government organizations can choose to use for their data. So we have a large number of private clouds in government institutions because they just can't move them into the public cloud. Now, when you're running a private cloud, you have to be an organization that has enough resources, enough organizational maturity, enough ability to be able to pull this off. If you're a one or two man shop and you want to have a huge cloud, you may not be able to pull that all together with the resources that you have. So you may be limited in what you can do in the private space and choose instead to look at a public or hybrid cloud. So a public cloud is usually around standardized applications or at least standardized implementations of infrastructure and used by many people. Public clouds are the home usually of software as a service that's offered to the public or to the internet at large, but it can be still a public hosting of your business information. Public clouds can be really good for testing and RAD projects, things that have to be spun up very quickly. I'm involved with a project with a particularly large corporation, and they created an entire website from scratch using their rapid application environment in a public cloud. It included database connectivity, the ability to issue particular things to users, the ability to know who users were, and to connect back to various data sources in private clouds and even on-premises solution. And they were able to pull this together very, very quickly using a public cloud offering. Usually a public cloud provides incremental capacity at incremental cost. This is sometimes summed up by the term elasticity. In other words, if you need more resources to handle the big rush at the end of the year, then you spin up and pay for those extra resources at that time. Then when you don't need them anymore, you decommission some or all of those resources. Some organizations, when dealing with a public cloud, are particularly concerned about privacy, security, and reliability. There's no easy answer to this. Looking at the specifics of your contract is very important because that will dictate what the cloud provider is going to do in terms of privacy, security, and reliability. Some people argue the cloud is more reliable because it has a large number of professionals supporting their cloud-based data centers. Others will point out that many people have run private data centers quite reliably for a long period of time, and the public cloud is not immune to failure or outage. So again, understanding clearly what redundancy, what failover, what protections you have in your contract when dealing with the public cloud becomes very important, especially as you put your company's data out there. So what many organizations are doing is having what's called a hybrid cloud. This combines the features of the private and the public cloud and can in fact have them interconnected with each other. So you may have a private space that's offered by a public provider. So you could go to one of the large cloud providers and say, I want this dedicated area. I want you to manage it for me, but I don't want anybody else's information stored on my rack or my physical server. I want to have these very definite walls, both in a contractual and technical sense, between me and everyone else. And I want to connect that back to my on-premises solution with VPNs or software-defined networking or what you might have. Or I may wish to have some information in a very private cloud and some information in a public cloud, and they need to be linked or not linked. You can also just have a hybrid cloud where part of your infrastructure is existing in the public cloud and part of it's an on-premise solution or a private cloud that you've built in your own data centers. One of the common scenarios that's growing very quickly is having a database server or group of servers that lives on premises in your own environment that is backed up or replicated to a server that lives in a public cloud or to a public service in a cloud. Then you're protected geographically from failure, and in the event of a catastrophic failure of your data center, you can quickly resume operations by using the replica that's stored in the public cloud. That is a hybrid type of cloud offering.